When I look in the mirror, I tell myself, girl, you are a designer original.
Aw, I love that.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I love that.
You're listening to Good Faith Weekly. I'm Mitch Randall.
And I'm Missy Randall.
We're here each week exploring the intersection of faith and culture
We find people who stand up, speak out, and step forward.
for inclusion, freedom, and justice for all.
It's time for Good Faith Weekly.
Brought to you by Good Faith Media. Welcome to Good Faith Weekly. On this episode, Missy and I are going to catch up and talk about what we're thankful for this Thanksgiving. And then later on, we sat down with Dr. Lucille O'Neill, who has an updated memoir out titled Why I Have Your Attention. It's going to be a great pod, so stay tuned. Hello there, Missy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm thankful.
How are you now?
Not really.
It would not be a Thanksgiving if it were not for your unthankfulness.
That's right. But here we are on our final episode before Thanksgiving.
Indeed.
So we should talk about Thanksgiving. Wait, sorry. We should talk about things we're thankful for.
Yes, we should.
You agree?
So, I absolutely agree. So,
Okay, so for a change of pace,
yes.
as of late, we're going to talk about some things we're thankful for.
It's been a very stressful couple of weeks, a lot of
Few months,
distress, a lot
whatever.
of difficulty. Yes, absolutely. So we're entering a time where we should take a moment, pause, and offer thanks for the things in life that bring us joy and happiness.
But worry not, dear listener. We will be back to despair in exactly 2 weeks when
2
we
weeks.
return, right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
So I gave you an assignment.
You did.
We were supposed to come with a few items that we are thankful for
Yes.
this year.
I've got my list.
Do you now?
I do now.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear it, but because I brought 4 and you brought 3, I'm going to go first.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. So the first thing that I am thankful for that has probably saved our marriage,
Okay, I can't wait.
right? Suspense. Slider close Ziplocs.
Slider close Ziplocs.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
So basically the zipper lock Ziploc bags, right?
Yes.
Because you are absolutely incapable of closing any sort of traditional Ziploc baggie.
Listen, the Ziploc functionality of the one that you run your fingers across, there is a flaw in that design. It is not my fault.
You
that
guys,
the engineers.
No, because after you like pinch it closed, you're supposed to press against it to make sure that there's no air coming out.
No.
You do not.
Every man on this podcast will agree with
No.
me.
Do you know how many cheese packets I've thrown away? Because, and to be fair, this is a problem with you and our children. But they no longer live with me, so they are their roommates'
It is a
problems.
design flaw, an engineer flaw in
So I
the
finally
manufacturing.
decided to save our marriage for the sake of our marriage. I'm spending the extra 25 or 50 cents, and I only buy the slider close Ziploc baggies because those are relatively foolproof.
Until you go half
Oh my
inch
gosh.
past
Oh my gosh.
the stopping point and it rips right off the side.
So this,
And then you have to go back into the drawer, get another one so your wife doesn't know that you've actually broken the first one and put
okay, so these are things I don't need to know, but just my number one for right now is the slider
All right, fair
lock
enough. Fair
Ziploc
enough.
bags. Okay, so you go. What's yours?
All right. So my first thing that I'm thankful for, thinking about Thanksgiving, is a smoke-free Thanksgiving.
Okay. Tell me
And it
more.
has nothing to do with the turkey.
Okay.
So growing up, we would always travel down to Dallas-Fort Worth to spend Thanksgiving with my mom's side of the family. Well, there was one segment of our family who enjoyed a cigarette or two.
I mean, it was the 70s, right?
70s,
I mean,
early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
We, lots of folks just didn't know.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, God love them. They were genuine, lovely people. I love them dearly. But it was so funny. So, when me and my brother and my cousins would need to go in after playing outside to ask my parents a question, we would literally have to marine crawl.
That stop, drop, and roll education came in handy.
It absolutely did. We would marine crawl through the living room to the dining room where they were playing spades or crazy
hearts.
eights or hearts or something like that, and to ask them a question. And we would be on our bellies, like with our hand to our mouth, saying, "Mom, Dad."
How funny.
Can we get a snack? Because if you went above table level, you were going to choke because of the cigarette smoke.
Oh, how funny. So, yes, for the most part, we no longer have indoor smoking on Thanksgiving.
Very thankful
for that. Yes, thankful.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is I am thankful for blue juice.
Okay. Tell me about that.
You may not remember this,
okay.
but a few months back, we were on an airplane.
Yes.
That was delayed.
Oh, the blue juice.
Shocker, right? It was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. We were having some sort of little mechanical issue, which they were being very vague about. We're sitting on an airplane, you and I had a connection to make, or we were anxious to get home. I don't remember the story. But what I do remember is a very exasperated flight attendant finally coming over the intercom. She's like, listen, people, the reason we're delayed is because we do not have blue juice for the toilet. So think about this. If you've ever been to the airplane toilet,
multi-billion-dollar company comes to a close because
there's no blue juice. So when you flush the toilet, it's that blue liquid that flushes the toilet. She's like, there's no blue juice. She's like, but we're going to go ahead and take off. Even though that's
risky.
Against regulation. She goes, so if you have to go to the bathroom, take a bottle of water and pour it in the toilet when you go.
Oh my God.
It was so funny. And so every time we fly now, I sit in anticipation of them saying, we can't take off because we don't have blue juice. So I am thankful for blue juice because that allows us to take off in the airplane.
And in the tradition of the lectionary church for smoke-free Thanksgivings and blue juice, we give thanks.
Yes, we give thanks. All right, what's your next one?
All right, so this might be a bit controversial, but I need to share this. I'm going to take you back to Texas.
You're really in a childhood Thanksgiving kind of place, aren't you?
Am, yeah. And I want to introduce you to 12-year-old Mitch.
Aww.
Oh, yeah. I mean, had feather, the feather hairdo and everything.
Did you have the mullet?
Oh, I did have a mullet. Had a mullet, yeah, absolutely. Had the rugby-style shirts for Land's End. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I didn't get to shop at Land's End, but you go on.
Oh, hey, that was mail order.
Oh, okay.
So 12-year-old Mitch drives down to Dallas-Fort Worth for Thanksgiving, and great, again, family holiday with the Martins, still a lot of smoke in the air. But one of my cousins, Becky Jo, has a friend over for this particular Thanksgiving. And Missy, I want to introduce you to Erica Estrada.
Okay, folks, that's not. Please tell me that's not her real name. You're not outing her.
No.
Okay, so that's a pseudonym.
That is a pseudonym. Yeah. So Erica Estrada rolls in with
your cousin,
with Becky Jo, and hand to God, that is my cousin's name from Texas. And I mean, stars just began to swirl.
Something was
about
revealed
me.
To you that day. Yes,
Indeed,
at 12 years
was.
old makes perfect sense. Okay,
she was 14 years old.
Oh, nice.
Exactly. And so
she was a woman of the world at 14.
She was a woman of the world at 14. And she was from Texas. I was from Oklahoma. I mean, everything was like there. So
a pattern you continued. Yes?
Nah. So let's just say that was a memorable Thanksgiving for numerous reasons. But the main reason was that Erica gave me my first kiss.
Aww.
So, yeah.
And it was sweet, right?
It was so
just
sweet.
Just sweet and innocent.
Yeah, so sweet. So I was head over heels in love, and if she ever came back in my life, I am so sorry, but it may be over.
Hey, I mean, you go. I support that.
So there you go.
So Erica Estrada,
Yeah.
you have,
Thank you.
yes, something to be thankful for, someone to be thankful for. Okay. So my next one is salt.
Salt. Does this have anything to do?
No.
No, okay.
Well, yes. But I've just been thinking a lot, strangely enough, about salt. And
Okay.
did you know that salt appears in the Bible 47 times?
No idea. Oh, so this is going to be a biblical. Okay, I love
Sort
this.
of. And it might have nothing to do with the fact that we just had
You are the salt of the earth.
That's right. The most amazing salted caramel ice cream I've ever had. And you
Sweetie.
know me. You put salt on anything, I am here for it.
Indeed.
I carry salt with me everywhere I go.
Yep.
I
mean, you were Lot's wife before Lot's wife.
Right. Much to my doctor's chagrin, I love salt.
Yeah.
I love a salted rim of a drink. I love salted desserts. Anyway, so we just had the most amazing salted caramel ice cream.
We did.
So I just thought, you know what? I'm so thankful for salt. And
Yep.
I'm going to find a biblical reason for it.
All right, so
So, salt appears in the Bible 47 times. So we all know the standard, you're the salt of the earth that you just mentioned. Okay, so here's another one. Colossians 4:6 says, let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer everyone. That describes me, right?
So I believe in that verse. I appreciate you sharing that verse. But how you interpret that verse is like an old sailor.
Okay,
You're the saltiness of the earth.
I'm cool with that. Hey, I interpret
With
the
a bit
Bible.
of an attitude.
I interpret the Bible the way I need it
Exactly,
interpreted.
exactly.
We know this. Okay, and then Mark 9:50 says, salt is good, but if salt has lost its saltiness, how can you season it? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I can confirm you are salty.
I am salty, right? So I'm biblical, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so I was just thinking, salt makes, like you would say when you baptize, salt just makes everything better in my mind.
So for Erica and Salt, we
give thanks. Okay, what do you got?
All right, here's my last thing. I know you got one more. So my last thing, and you're going to laugh at this. So everybody, all the listeners know that we've just moved into this house. We're getting settled in. And this week, I have installed our system that is connected to the Alexa app.
Yes, you're very proud.
I'm so proud
All
of
week
this.
long, I'm in the office and I'm hearing you walk around going, Alexa, turn on kitchen. Alexa, turn off office. Like as you're testing this out.
Yes. Yeah. So I have made that statement time and time again.
Yes.
So I am very proud that now Alexa is working. She turns on and off our lights. She allows us to listen to music throughout the house. Just really thankful for this entire system because I'm kind of a tech geek.
I really want credit for all the jokes I'm not making right now. I just want credit.
Credit due. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but here's the thing I haven't told you, Missy.
Yes.
So even though I say Alexa in the app, I have actually named Alexa Estrada.
Estrada. Whatever you got to do, man.
So Alexa Estrada is turning on and off our lights.
Is she now?
So she is.
Okay. I think we're going down probably a
We'll
not
stop right
appropriate
there.
path. Okay. So I will give you my last thing, and
Okay.
this will get kind of sentimental. I am thankful this year in particular for keys.
Okay. Keys.
As you mentioned, our regular listeners know we've been in just a state of kind of upheaval for most of this last year as we sold our home to downsize and then realized we couldn't move into our new home because it needed many, many renovations and repairs. So when we started this process, we had exactly 2 keys.
2 keys.
We had a key to our post office box and we had a key to our car.
Indeed, we did.
Which was not even an actual key.
Right.
It's a fob. With this season of not having a home to live in, we have collected more keys than we can carry.
Indeed. A lot of storage unit keys.
Yes, and keys to homes.
Yes.
During this time, we have had numerous friends and colleagues offer us places to stay, and we literally do have so many keys on our key rings, and we look like janitors.
We do.
And they're all for people's homes who have opened up to us and said, come, stay. You have a place as long as you need it. And so I'm really thankful for our friends. This year has taught me a lot about how scary it is to not have a place of your own, even in the midst of the fact that I knew I had a place. And it's made me just think a lot about those who truly do have housing insecurity or who are unhoused, and how that would affect you if you truly don't have a safe place to go. And just the fact that we had numerous places that we could go and that we did go, and friends who have been so giving and so understanding to us in this, stressful time of trying to reno a house. And I'm so very thankful for the keys that we collected along the way, and for the friends who were so gracious in giving them to us.
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet. I mean, you brought a tear to my eye. Well, for all of our friends and for the keys that they gave us, we give thanks. Absolutely. So another thing we give thanks for is the fact that we got to sit down with Dr. Lucille O'Neill this week. She's got a new memoir out about her life and her overcoming of struggles throughout her life. It's really well done. Our conversation with her was fantastic. She's very inspirational, and I just really appreciated the opportunity to talk to her.
Yeah, I give thanks for her memoir. As I tell her in the opening, memoirs are just my favorite genre of books. So this was such a treat for me to get to read a memoir for work and learn about her life. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
So we'll be right back with Dr. Lucille O'Neill after this break.
So much of what I learned in church was about doing instead of being. Pray this prayer, affirm this belief, save your soul. But doesn't our faith teach us that there's nothing we can do to earn or escape God's love? I'm Brett Harris, host of God Knows Where, and if we can't do anything, then I think we need to better understand who we're supposed to be. Join me for Wayfinding, a new series exploring Jesus' parables to discover who God calls us to be. Find God Knows Where on your favorite podcast platform.
Welcome back to Good Faith Weekly. On this episode, we've got a very special guest with us. When Dr. Lucille O'Neill became a mom as a teenager, she knew one thing was true. She would always love her children. That love, as well as a fierce determination to overcome every setback and stereotype along the way, carried her through difficult years of parenthood, the grip of addiction, and the pain of divorce. In While I Have Your Attention, an updated memoir, Lucille shares her struggles, disappointments, memories, and proudest accomplishments. Lucille's remarkable life is the story of a woman who prevailed despite many obstacles and trials. As she shares her incredible story of stepping from poverty and loss into hope and renewed faith, she will inspire you to keep moving forward even when you come up against seemingly insurmountable challenges in life. Dr. O'Neill, wow, what an accomplishment. Welcome to Good Faith Weekly.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today. I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have.
Excellent. Well, Dr. O'Neill, if you'll allow me a moment, I have to fangirl just a bit, because my happy place is a memoir. And so we do so many interviews with authors and things, and this gave me an opportunity to really grab a book that I would just for fun and read it and feel like I was getting away with something on the clock. I just love getting lost in someone's story, and I love getting to know someone in that way. So thank you so much for writing it and for taking time for us today. So I want to start by talking about a little bit of your upbringing. You grew up in a non-traditional home, kind of have a real interesting story of your early life. Your grandparents and other relatives had a real significant influence on you, and you talk a little bit about how it does take a village to raise children. So I wondered if you want to tell our listeners a little bit about how that extended family relationship affected you, how meaningful those relationships are for children.
I believe, and I have always believed, that our outside influences outside of the home also have an impact on us. That's why I talk about the village so much.
Yeah.
But we grew up, my sisters, I have two sisters and I have one brother. We grew up in a household where we also went to church a lot. Mm-hmm. We went to Church of God Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, every day of the week we were at church. And that upbringing helped make us stable at that time. We had a woman pastor. Her name was Iola Hartsfield, and she was big on pouring into the youth. But I was one of those young people that had such an attitude, and I didn't want her to ask me to do anything. But one day she called me and she said, "You come here." She gave me the finger and she meant it. "You come here and you walk like you have somewhere to go," because I had an attitude.
Yeah.
And I realized everything that I learned from her, I was able to apply it to my adult days. The first title of my memoir, I don't even call it a memoir anymore, I call it my testimony.
Mm-hmm.
The title was Walk Like You Have Somewhere to Go. And it came from those experiences that I had in the church. But I know for a fact that all that we go through from the childhood up into adulthood has an influence on us if we remember some of the things that we've learned, good, bad, and even the ugly.
Well,
it can make a difference in our lives. Yes.
Yeah.
I will say that moment, I'm so glad you brought it up when you introduced her to us in your book, your minister, and you said I'm sorry, tell me her name again. It just escaped me.
Reverend Iola Hartsfield.
You said Reverend Iola, and my immediate reaction was, I didn't know that was a man's name. And I'm saying that
Really?
because then you go on to talk about the time in which you were in that church and how unusual it was, especially in an African-American congregation, that you would have a woman pastor. And it just, that meant so much to me to hear that, no, in fact, you did have a woman minister, and just her impact on your life. I really appreciated that.
She was tough. I never forget the things that we learned under her, under her supervision.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you brought up that you consider your first book not necessarily a memoir anymore, but a testimony. And it reminds me of that line in the book where you said the reason they call it testimony is because you have to be tested to get a testimony. And
Yes.
You talk about that throughout the entirety of the book. And so my question, because you mentioned this a couple of times, not only in your childhood, but the childhood of your children as well. So another opportunity in your young life and the life of your children that provided support besides your extended family was after-school programs. You spoke very highly of those programs and talked about them being defunded back in the early 80s. So, Dr. O'Neill, why do you think those programs are essential for the development of children? And this is a more complex question. How can we get those back? How can we get those funded these days?
Well, I do realize that, budgeting and money is an issue. We don't always have the funds, and that was the case back then. But we can provide the lessons that we learn. We can provide that to others outside of the home. Mm-hmm. The village concept was that if you have children, I'm going to care about your children like you care about mine.
Yeah.
And so we have to continue to support the programs that the children need. It takes money to have the programs in certain places, but we can pour into our children in more ways than just having a youth program. Mm-hmm. Conversation, communication is one way. And then also we have learned how to listen to them a lot more, which helps. Yeah. In the military, we served for 20 years and they kept the youth programs. And I was involved with youth programs because I had children of my own. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be able to gather up the neighborhood kids so my children would have someone to play with as well. So we poured into the youth in that way. And I think that if we just remember the concept of the village, it's broken in a whole lot of places. But if we can adopt that again, we can forget about maybe the funds that are needed. It takes one to just take a step, just one.
Absolutely.
Just one. And one just will add on, it'll be added on, you add on another, you add on another. When you have multiple children in your home, sometimes they want somebody else to play with besides their sisters and their brothers. So, you can take one in and share and help that person to grow. It'll be good for their parents to know that they can come to your place and be in a safe place. We have to start somewhere. So that's a good place that I believe we should start. Just caring for one another all over again.
I love that. And in your answer, you mentioned the importance of keeping communication at the center of your relationship with your children and their friends. And you do that throughout the entirety of the book. In fact, there's this moment in the book where you say, if you talk to your kids, they may teach you something.
Absolutely. I believe it. We have intelligent children today. They have information right at their fingertips and they know a whole lot. I know for a fact because I learned so much from my grandchildren. I have 16 grandchildren.
Wow.
And I have 3 great-grandchildren now. And so while I have your attention is a refresh, I call it a refresh from walk like you have somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited and I'm grateful to HarperCollins because they came to me and said, we think that your story can really continue to influence others that read it. So how about doing an update? And that's while I have your attention. So it's an extension of my testimony. While I Have Your Attention came out in 2024, but Walk Like You Have Somewhere to Go was published in 2010.
Oh, wow.
Well, I will second what you said about learning from your children. We happen to think our two are the most brilliant people on the planet. So, yes. And we'll tell anybody who will listen that that's the case.
And then another thing, while we talk to them and listen to them, we gain a greater respect for them.
Absolutely.
Not as our children, but as human beings. They have a mind, and that mind is sharp, but we'll never know it if we don't pay attention and listen sometimes. We're so busy parenting that sometimes we forget to listen. And they have a lot to tell. And
I love the stories you tell about your children. And, one of them happens to be famous and a pretty good basketball player, Shaquille O'Neal. But there's a lot of wisdom that you gleaned from those relationships, but also a lot of wisdom that you were able to pass along to those kids, your kids. So how important is it to keep those lines of communication open? And maybe what are some of the most important lessons that you have learned with the communication of your kids?
See, Missy and Mitch, you all see Shaquille different. You see him different, but at home, he's just Shaquille. And he's Latifah's brother. I have Latifah, I have Aisha, I have Jamal.
Right.
He falls into place and we don't treat him any different.
I love to hear that.
Now, in the world, they put him on a pedestal. He's so great. He's this. Yeah, he may be that in your eyes, but he's still...
He didn't pick his socks up off the floor today, did he?
No. And we always reminded him, you have to keep it real. I don't like phony people.
Yeah.
So I tell him, you have to keep it real and you have to be real with yourself.
Love that.
Now, since, 5 years ago, Aisha passed away, but she was the most energetic of our children. And all of them had a different quality, a great quality. And I used to tell them that they all have their own path. I tell Latifah, you can't be Aisha. Aisha, you can't be Latifah. And my other son, Jamal, I said, you can't be Shaquille. Shaquille, you can't be Jamal. But we learn how to appreciate all of them in their own body, in their own way, and love them. I mean, love them. Love is so crucial in families today.
So, Lucille, you touched a moment ago on your military experience, which is quite a big chunk of your time of raising your children. So we know many families are in this situation. They're across the world and going through all of the things you were going through. So I thought I would ask you to talk a little bit about that experience. What advice would you have for families who are going through what you went through?
Missy, the military experience is one of the greatest experiences that we have ever had in our lives. It taught us first to come together as a family. We became a unit. Our most greatest memories were the festivals and the different cultures of people that we met. We didn't see black and white over there. We saw people and human kindness, and we learned how to get along with so many different people coming from so many different places. That was great for us because we didn't talk prejudice in our home. A matter of fact, we never used the word in our home. We just had a love for people, and we still have a love for all kinds of people and different cultures of people. But what we learned was that we were responsible for each of ourselves. My husband was responsible. They call him the sponsor. So we had to act right so that wherever we were, they wouldn't separate us or send us home or kick us off the Army base or whatever. But for 20 years, we learned how to grow stronger. And we learned how to depend on each other because we were away from the rest of our family, but it taught us to stand up and be responsible. We learned so much about responsibility. And in any family, we all need to know that. Parents are responsible for the children, but children are responsible as well. And every 3 years, we had to move. Every 3 years, I think we stayed in Germany for 4 years, and we stayed in Texas for 7 years. But by the time we got ready to build ourselves up, it was time to move again. But we learned strength, we learned endurance, and we just kept it moving forward.
I love that.
Well, we are in the middle of a move right now, so you saying that makes me a little twitchy here.
Don't be afraid. Look forward to the move,
That's
because
right.
when you're looking forward to it, you're looking forward for something good to happen.
Yeah.
And you have to know when your season is up in a place. At least that's what I learned.
That's
your season
right.
is up in this place. It's time to go. Get going and be happy about it.
I love that.
And trust God in the process, for real.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because, Lucille, one of the most appealing elements of the book for me was just really your authenticity. I mean, you write about your struggles, you write about your high points as well, but through it all, you have this conversation about your faith. There were times where your faith waned, while there were other times where it was rock solid. So talk to us a little bit about that struggle in and out of faith, and where you landed in the end, because faith is a central part of this book.
Well, Mitch, when I was younger, like I said, I was brought up in the Church of God. But as I grew older, I tapped into the world, and we find some things out there that we may like. And I dabbled in alcohol and just strayed away, stopped going to church, and was just out there just doing Lucille. Got away from my upbringing. But as time went on, I found out that all of those things did not keep me happy or bring happiness to me. And when Shaquille got drafted and the world began to look at us, we lost our identity. I became Shaq's mama, and there was Shaq's father and Shaq's sister and brother. But I was drinking a whole lot, and I prayed and asked God to help me. I went back to God. We had so much then. I mean, we were in a good place. We're still in a good place. But even with all of those material things and the extra cars and the extra change, that does not bring you peace. And it definitely does not bring you happiness. So I was not in a good place, but I had to begin to pray. My mother taught me how to pray. I went back to prayer, and I asked God to help me straighten my life around. I didn't want people to say, look at Shaq's mama with her drunk self. I didn't want to embarrass him. I didn't want to embarrass the family, because you be at a place sometimes you don't even care. You don't care what people think. But I had to begin to be concerned about what people were thinking about me. And you know how when they talk about the prodigal son, it says he came to himself. Okay, well, I came to Lucille and decided, girl, you better get a grip. It's time for you to get right. God didn't bless you for you to act this way. And so God spoke to me, and I spoke to him too. I prayed, God, I need you to help me. It turned my life around. It really did. And I feel so much better about that transition, because the dreams I had, they began to come alive again. And I got stronger in my faith that was always there. The foundation was laid, but I got away, but I was able to pick it up again. I'm glad I didn't die out there in that mess, really.
So, Lucille, this book is such an excellent story about female empowerment. I just was cheering you on the whole way through the book, and every challenge that you took on and every, goal that you set and that you met. But you talk about from childhood to adult struggles, making conscious decisions to enact course changes in your life that help through difficult times. So I want to touch on a few of those, pat yourself on the back for a little bit and tell us about a few of your greatest kind of accolades, and then talk about, what advice you would give to women today who might need a course change.
Missy, when I was 12 years old, first of all, I didn't like to be tall. Didn't want to be seen. I would shrink back. And Pastor Hartsfield told me, you can be a special person. You were born with a purpose. You can be. And I didn't ever forget that. But I told God when I was 12, I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. And I said that because back then, the words that people would say, we lived in the civil rights movement, and just some of the mean, angry, evil things that people would say, it really, really bothered me. And so I said, I don't want to be that person that talks like that to people. I want to be able to be kind. I want to be able to share. I want to be able to encourage and motivate. And so that was a dream I had. I held on to it. Now, in order for you to be a motivational speaker, you all know this, you have to have something to speak about. I didn't know that God was preparing me the way that he did. So I'm still speaking. That's why I don't call these books. These are my testimonies. I always have something to talk about. But what I say to people that I talk to is the process I went through. Even if you're in that place or maybe you are not, You have to learn how to do a self-check. You have to learn how to encourage yourself. We have so much inside of us that we have to dig inside sometime in order to bring those dreams back to help them become a reality and allow them to manifest right in front of our eyes. We have to put in the work. I tell young women, when you're young, pregnant, going through things, that's not the end of the world. The determination and the desire, it's going to come from you. You have to want to do better. And if you don't, you won't do better, but you have to want to do better, and you have to believe, and you have to trust yourself. And then I keep reminding them, you have to pray. You got to pray. And I don't try to push what I believe on anybody, but I can tell you what worked for me. And it was the grace of God, and it was my determination and my desire, and everything that I have asked God for, it has happened for me. And I'm in a happy place right now. I'm so happy because I'm loving Lucille. We have to learn how to love ourselves. I'm loving Lucille. And the subtitle of Walk Like You Have Somewhere to Go said from mental welfare.
Yeah.
That's when I'm dependent on everybody else for my own peace and happiness. But from mental welfare to mental wealth, my mind is clear. I have a new way of thinking. And I'm in a place of peace. And that peace only came from God for me. It didn't come from anybody else. And I'm just so happy. And I'm enjoying life and celebrating every day. When I look in the mirror, I tell myself, girl, you are a designer original.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I love that.
Well, Lucille, I know you're a motivational speaker, but I think you just crossed the Rubicon and became a preacher there for a second. So
I'm waiting for the invitation. I'm walking down.
Well, I do serve in ministry, and I'm so happy about that. I've had training, so I'm certified and qualified. I can give a word now.
I love that.
And then I believe our ministry is not always in the church building behind the pulpit. I've been telling people my ministry is not there. My ministry is what I'm doing right now, service to the people. That's what I say.
Love that. Love that. Well, finally, Lucille, cancer has had a significant impact on your life. Your mother and daughter both battled it, and you've created a foundation, the Odessa Chambliss Quality of Life Fund. So, Lucille, tell us about the foundation and what this work means to you.
Mitch, when my mother, I don't want to say my mother, our mother got sick, and we were in the hospital hallway one day, and the doctors came to us. They said, well, we've done everything that we can to help your mother. She had had many surgeries and things weren't getting better. And the doctor said, we've done everything we can, but it is not the quantity of years that she has left to live, but it will be the quality of her life from now on that will make a difference to all of you. And so we're standing in the hallway, and we were sad, yes, but we came together and we wanted to do something to honor our mother and keep her legacy alive. She was a nurse by profession. So God put it in our hearts to do the Odessa Chambliss Quality of Life Fund. It's not a foundation. We bring in the money. We have a special event. After we pay the bills, we're giving the money to different schools and universities for nursing scholarships. And right now we're preparing for our next Faith and Fellowship Luncheon. She was a woman of faith, but she believed in education so much. And she just believed in loving people. That's her legacy. She left us a legacy of love, not only to love each other, but to love people. And so we're happy about the things that we do. And it's a no-brainer for us to give. She was a giver all the time. And we just believe that out of this, we're able to bless someone, because the blessing that God has given our family, we know it's not even about us. It's what we do with the blessing. So we're excited about the Odessa Chambliss Quality of Life Fund. We've been raising funds since she passed in 1996.
Wow.
And then Aisha, the cancer that she had, she was good for 17 years, but God decided to bring her home 5 years ago because the cancer, it started in her lymph nodes and then it just spread everywhere after 17 years. But I believe that God does the ultimate healing. He don't always heal us on this side. He'll bring our loved ones home, no more sickness and no more pain. So we continue on with the Quality of Life Fund, just doing the things that God purposed in our hearts to do. was raise money for nursing scholarships.
Well, I appreciate all the hard work and effort that it goes into caring for those people who are suffering from cancer and battling cancer. It's a great fund. Check out the fund. We'll have that link in the show notes. We just applaud your work, Lucille, on everything. Well, Dr. Lucille O'Neill, her new book is While I Have Your Attention, and you need to pick it up wherever you purchase your reading materials. But before we let you go, Lucille, we've got one last question, and Missy has the honor of asking it.
So, Dr. O'Neill, as you know, our tagline at Good Faith Media is "There's more to tell." So, in light of your work and our conversation today, what is your more to tell?
First of all, I want to say the Bible reminds us that this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. But I looked up in a Hallmark store one day and I saw a plaque that said, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Don't mess it up." So I remind people that God gives us a day. We should take advantage of this one day that he's given us and know that we're living in the dash. We have to make every day count. So look forward to doing something good and meaningful every day. And it will make your life a little bit more rewarding if you practice that concept.
That's going on my mirror. Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Well, Lucille, thank you so much for joining us on Good Faith Weekly. You are always invited to come back and talk to Missy and myself.
Well, yeah, we need a little motivation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's right. We wish you the very best. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Well, Missy, I really enjoyed our conversation with Dr. O'Neill. She is a fascinating and inspirational woman who has overcome a lot, but has a lot of great wisdom to share to us.
Right. And I think it's the perfect episode for this week in which we are focusing on gratitude, as she so expressed in the interview, of just where her life has been and just her spirit of encouragement and gratitude towards all that she's been able to do and accomplish in her life, really on her own determination and her own drive. And she was an inspiration.
Yeah, what I really appreciated about, the memoir and then our conversation with her is that she was very authentic and genuine in retelling her story. She was very honest about the obstacles that she faced as a young woman, as a young mother, leaning into the fact that, she was raising her children and then being, married and being in a military family. And then, later on in life, having a famous son who played professional basketball. And then also the challenge of when her mother and daughter faced cancer. So many obstacles. So when you hear about these individuals who have fairy tale lives, as, we would conclude, you forget the fact that they are human beings and that they have a lot of the same obstacles and challenges that you and I have. And so I really appreciated her telling that story with such authenticity and genuineness in helping us understand her life, but also inspiring us to overcome obstacles as well.
Yeah, and I love the phraseology she uses about mental welfare to mental wealth.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was just such a great way to talk about kind of mental health in general and what that means to her of being in a state of mental wealth and how she achieved that and how she worked towards that goal of being healthy and being, a positive person. So I really enjoyed that. I love when she said, "Girl, you are a designer original."
That was fantastic.
If I just need to put all these things on my mirror in the morning and maybe that would be helpful. But yes, I really just enjoyed her. And again, all the work that she has done to, like you said, overcome challenges, but also as a middle-aged woman deciding I'm going back to school.
Right.
I'm going to get my degree. She's got now multiple degrees and she's a doctor now and is able to kind of inspire just an entire generation of women.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was that, I love the fact that you enjoy good memoir. We all know that. But when we brought that up, we talked about how she kind of recharacterized her memoir as a testimony. And the only reason she has a testimony is because to have a testimony, you have to be tested. Yeah, that was fabulous.
So I'm of like the ilk. It's like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need the testimony.
You don't need the testing.
No, I don't need the testing. I'm good over here with my salt and my blue juice. I'm fine.
Oh my gosh.
No, and I loved her more to tell. This is the day the Lord has made. Don't mess it up. I'd probably put a different word in there, but I think that just needs to be my mantra. Just don't mess it up.
Yeah. So I think that last bit of wisdom was a great reminder for us as we enter into the Thanksgiving week. That for all of us who are feeling a bit down by the last few weeks, that indeed this still is the day that the Lord has made. And yeah, don't mess it up, but also it's a good reminder to rejoice and be glad in it.
It's up to us to decide what to do with that day.
Absolutely. So
damn it.
Save that.
Fine. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Let's go.
Let's go. So to everybody out there, we want to thank you for continuing to listen to this podcast. We are very thankful for you. We're thankful for all of our colleagues at Good Faith Media who help bring this podcast to you each and every week. And Missy, to you, I'm very thankful to you for being my co-host and my partner in life.
Well, I'm very thankful for you as well. I may not be Erica Estrada, but hey.
Well, I could have named Alexa Missy.
Not a good idea.
All right. Well, we wish you the very best Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. And remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. Try to rejoice and try to be glad in it. Keep living good faith. You've been listening to Good Faith Weekly, hosted by Mitch and Missy Randall. This weekly podcast from Good Faith Media discusses matters of faith and culture.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcast and give us a like and a glowing review. We produce the podcast out of Norman, Oklahoma. Our music comes from Pond 5.
And we're supported by listeners like you. Learn more about us at goodfaithmedia.org.